Alright, and now I've unmuted the stream, so we are good to go. Alright, so we are in the Midwest Dota 2 League Season 8, XPOM Imperium versus Pretty Good. XPOM Imperium is sitting on the Radiant side with Pretty Good taking the Dire. Let's see what these first bans are. There's the OD. I've seen that banned in every single game I've casted so far. Pretty standard opening.
Odie's just terrifying if your team isn't equipped to deal with him. He has the ability to get that naked meteor hammer, and
10 seconds.
There are a lot of people who don't like getting zapped.
Yeah, no, the instant like 1300 damage combo is pretty rough early game, and we see Pretty Good getting rid of the Lich. Still a pretty strong support in this this patch. Not the strongest, but
ban?
It feels more target banned when it comes out, because the I've seen, it was a couple weeks ago, the two teams that played, the team that won had the Lich, and it's mostly around that percentage based damage block that really is what makes him a useful tool, especially going into the late game with a lot of these heavy damage heroes. But we see the Witch Doctor gets banned by XPOM Imperium, and then we see Pretty Good banning the Underlord, so it looks like those are most likely some target bans, because they aren't particularly strong heroes by themselves, but decent enough that if you've got someone that's a comfort hero, it's going to do a lot of work. Especially,
the Underlord can do a lot of work. I'm surprised that it's a first phase ban, considering how if they first... I would think Underlord can be very counterable if you see him early, but often there's that I could deal with it, but I'd rather not.
Yeah, and with Ursa being so strong in this current patch, that picking any melee offlaner into Ursa when we haven't seen an Ursa ban or an Ursa pick yet really leaves him any kind of like big tanky offlaner easy to be countered by this just picking one of the top meta heroes for your carry. Ooh, Undying pick. That's one I haven't seen yet. That's a nice spicy pick. Hopefully we see some spicy drafts coming out. I've seen a couple games with pretty standard drafts. Looks like we're seeing a non-standard draft this time around. So first pick, Luna by Pretty Good. One of my favorite heroes. But as a first pick, I don't think this is going to be a carry Luna with it coming right out the gate. Because it's an easily counterable hero. Because you've got Drow, you've got Clinks, you've got these good range heroes that can just pump in a lot of damage. And her big issue is the fact that she's a range hero with no range.
I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of throwing your carry out and say deal with it, and shutting down the counters.
It also does
see if it's a support or a core Luna. I think first picking your core actually leaves your draft more flexible in a bizarre sense, because you can see how they respond to it, and you have so many gaps that you can choose to fill in. I think a lot of times if you first pick your supports, you're either left with a lack of stun or conversely a lack of utility, which can often leave you getting open to getting things like Broodmothered, Alchemisted.
Yeah, picking the two supports first is almost always game losing because of your inability to really like flex. But we see XPOM Imperium, they're opening with their two supports, unless that is a mid Rubik, but most likely not, with Undying and Rubik.
Well, that being said, Rubik invalidates everything I just said, right? He's got CC, and depending on what the other team picks, he'll also have utility.
Looks like Pretty Good is just going straight for core type heroes, so with the Beastmaster pick, it looks more like Luna might be in the carry, and like you said, forcing someone to deal with it. They didn't deal with it in their first two picks. If Pretty Good knows that XPOM likes to pick their supports first, that means that they can first pick the carry that they want, and now you have 3 bans to protect your carry. And that's the advantage of picking them early. You still have these middle bans. Having the 3 in the middle now really lets you be a little bit more greedy in that first phase and be able to protect them going into the second phase. We see the Shadow Shaman banned out by XPOM Imperium.
Shadow Shaman's very strong right now.
Yeah, especially if you're coming into a Luna and a Beastmaster. If you want someone you just need to use someone to hold your one person on your team there while they get wailed on. You don't want to get wailed on by a Luna. You don't want to get wailed on by the Beastmaster Swarm. Shadow Shaman is just really good at saying, here, stand here and get hit. And they banned the Ursa, so it looks like they think the Luna is going to be mid if they're banning the Ursa, because that says
or possibly left to flex into a support role.
With the
they
do have
it. I don't know how much we've seen it recently in Dota.
Yeah, not as much recently, especially not in the pro scene. You can see pretty good getting rid of those carries, getting rid of the Troll, who's still really good, and Juggernaut. Both of these are excellent carries in the current patch. They just don't want to deal with them.
I really like the Juggernaut ban. I think they're the heroes that they have showing don't deal well with Juggernaut. Seeing the heroes they've picked, I totally get the Underlord ban now. I'm liking the draft from pretty good, but I'm just biased for no reason.
And then do have very good auras right now. We have Beastmaster with the attack speed aura and Luna with the percentage-based damage aura. So if they're looking to group up and push, those are two really big tools on the side of pretty good that's going to help them start running down towers very early. Especially with the Beastmaster being able to get those pickoffs with the Roar and the Swarm, just being able to amplify the damage with the whirling axes. If you go in, you get a pick off. It might be a support, it might be a core. If it's a core, you can almost always take an objective now that you've got these two auras on your team. And XBomb getting rid of the Animage, doubling down on believing that Luna is going to be somewhere other than the safe lane.
Maybe they know something I don't.
I'm going to guess that they do.
So full disclosure, I've done zero research at pretty good. So I don't know if they've got any sneaky maneuvers that some people might consider non-standard.
5 seconds.
Yeah, I've looked at a little bit of their stats, but I've not really dug into their previous drafts. But it's interesting, it's spicy, I like it. So we see AA coming out for pretty good, definitely that's one of their supports. Could be their second support, could be their first support, we don't know yet. Actually
I think that
here. Now
has the potential to do well here. I'm curious to see though what shapes up from XPOM.
Oh, if I look at Pretty Good's matches, they have Luna first picked in pretty much all of their matches. I don't know which position it is yet, but it looks like they love that first pick Luna. XPOM going with the CK here. Could be an offlaner, but also still pretty good safe laner. He's got plenty of tools to defend himself in lane and really be able to take control of the game the way that he likes.
Do you like running CK more safe lane or more off lane? Because we've seen a bit of both.
For me personally, I like to see it in the offlane, but with the right draft around it. Like you have to, because each hero has to fulfill a certain role that the team needs to be able to fulfill. And if you run CK in the offlane, you don't have a lot of team fight ultimates to control. So you want to have these something you want to have either support or one of your other cores have some big team fight element to it to make sure that you don't lose your team fights. And I just looked up the draft. It looks like TShear plays the Luna, and based off this KDA and net worth, it's going to be a support Luna.
Interesting.
I had to look that up because for it to be such a first pick, it was very interesting. And we see the puck picked up by Pretty Good, most likely in the mid lane because they already have shown the Beastmaster. Not likely being a support considering I just looked up the stats and it looks like Luna is typically their support, which I do like that. I like in the current patch you can get a lot greedier with your supports because your carry is not expected to necessarily win his lane. You just want to get him enough farm that he can either go off lane or go into the jungle.
I have a question for you. If Lifestealer infests Chaos Knight before Chaos Knight's ulties, do his illusions get the bonus stats?
That's a good question. I don't think so because illusions are normally based off your current stats or your stat based items and so that you get this health as a buff because you're infested. I don't
So it's
think it
not like the
affects.
armlet, because the armlet was an item.
Yeah, because the armlet's an item, and armlet affects your actual stats on your unit. So your illusions get the stats from your unit,
I feel like
versus Lifestealer is a buff attached to your unit. It doesn't affect your actual stats.
I
In a
still like the
similar
life
way,
stealer.
it's
I've been
very good.
playing life stealer a lot in pubs, and I think I'm starting to get the hang of them. Um, I think life stealer has very open itemization, so in that sense, it's a flexible carry. He has multiple play styles, and
5 seconds
I'm trying to
remain.
think what kind of mid we're expecting out of XPOM, because I'm thinking they'd want mobility, but I saw the Ember banned.
Yeah, they banned the Ember. Pretty good. Banned the Lycan.
But do you really want to pick a spirit against Puck? So what does that look like?
And Riki banned by Experium, so they just don't want to see this cheese carry coming on top of the amount of team fight that. Because you see, if you've got this Puck, you've got this Beastmaster, and you've got this Luna, and you've got this AA. Their team fight, they've got a lot of team fight, they've got a lot of auras, they're going to be able to pump out a lot of damage in a very short amount of time. Having this Riki, that if this Puck gets a good coil and this Riki just walks in, uses tricks of the trade, they're going to overlap very nicely, that you're going to take a lot of damage without being able to hit anybody back. And you're most likely going to lose the team fight right as it starts. Pretty good banning out the Pango, so believing that Experium really wants to have some sort of team fight kind of momentum mid. Pango, pretty decent against pretty good lineup, but would also have issues with the Puck in that the Puck coil does negate all of his non-passive abilities because
Well,
they
it would
all
have been a
require.
mobile non-spirit hero. So I did say that.
Yeah, that it's just the roots like really hurt the Pango, right? Because the your shield crash is a mobility. I like that's
But until it
counts
gets
as
the axe,
mobility.
it won't break roll. And there's the Invoker.
Yeah, so that's a lot of team fight that they were initially lacking from Experium, and I think it's going to go pretty well with the way that they want to play. Because they're not going to want to take straight up team fights, they're going to want to play around the map, they're going to want to take these skirmishes, and they're going to want to be fighting.
These Tornado Cataclysm style.
Yeah. Let's do a lot of damage in a short amount of time, and let's catch a couple
that
people.
Presses R.
Yeah, they're looking to push some objectives, back up, try to get like some pickoffs, and then push around the map, especially with CK going in the offlane. He's going to be looking to get that Ag Scepter and basically run illusions down and use those to cause chaos in the team fights. But it is difficult because you do have to get this Ags.
Do you think we're going to see another hero that presses R from Team Pretty Good, or do you think we're going to see something like a Wraith King, or maybe even, I don't think we'd see Drow, but one of those style heroes?
If I were them, I would just pick the safe pick of going with Wraith King. And I see their carry does play it based on previous matches. It's a safe pick. It's one of the top winners from the patch, and it's just very strong. And they go with the Phantom Lancer. This is gonna be quite interesting. They don't have a lot to deal with the illusions on the side of XPOM Imperium.
Not out of the box. We could see a Maelstrom come out as a farming item, possibly on Lifestealer, or even maybe Chaos Knight. But other than that, I think you're right, they're gonna have a hard time dealing with it out of the box. On the other hand, does Imperium deal with the Beastmaster tower assault that well? How do you think they fare up against that?
That's going to be pretty rough because, like, if you look at these supports, you've got Undying and Rubik. Both of them, if they go into, like, if they get anywhere near this Beastmaster, it's going to be pretty rough, right? Because they're pretty squishy. He's going to be able to blow them up very quickly, and they're not going to be able to pull off the tower. They do have like some AoE nukes, but it's going to be very rough to get in close enough to use them if you know that you can get this quick pick off. Because you don't want to get picked off. These supports are going to have to do a lot of work, especially this Rubik. They're going to want to get farm on this Rubik. He's going to need some items, and he's going to have to really put in the effort because he has a field day as this Rubik. If you look at what he's got to steal, every single one of these abilities is going to be
Yeah,
pretty.
Rubik versus team that presses R is pretty good.
Alright, so we've got NBT over here on the Invoker. We've got Jam on the Undying. We've got Raminolo on the Lifestealer. We've got Hot Sauce Goblin on the Chaos Knight. And we've got Captain Drunk 1111 on the Rubik. And for the Dire, we've got TShear, who is on this Luna. We've got Panoy on the Beastmaster. We've got Zom on the Puck. We've got Epi on the Ancient Apparition. And we've got Apache on the Phantom Lancer. So, quick pause at the beginning of the game.
Looking at opening items, a few things that stand out to me, we see Invoker opening with the Magic Stick, and we see Rubik opening with a Ring of Regen.
We can also see the CK only gets 3 tangos in the off lane trying to look for that quick bracer. That's not... It's not standard, but he is against a Phantom Lancer who is not going to... Like, unless he tries to spam his Spirit Lances, he's not going to want to. But you do have issues with the AA, who is most likely going to be there as well, he's got that Chilling Touch, right? It does a lot of damage. You do want that regen to be able to sustain in lane.
On the other hand, I think, or not on the other hand, but I think the Chaos Knight is hoping that he can farm through with his Chaos Strike using the critical lifesteal. Hoping to shrug off most of the AA damage. Once again, acknowledging that PL tends to power spike later and not at level 1. We see some drawing on the maps.
And we do... Now, it is unfortunate that his Chaos Strike is not guaranteed. Wraith King took that ability from him. It's still 30% chance. It's still very good, but not as good as it used to be. He used to be that lane dominator in the off lane with the guaranteed crits, able to guarantee CS, which is really good into like any of these heroes that would normally like play in the safe lane. They want to take your CS. If you're an offlaner, you're not always guaranteed CS. Having something that guarantees you are able to get these range creeps or just some of the melee creeps is always helpful because the offlaner is typically a sacrifice lane unless you have some like real lane dominators going. Just because you're kind of just you're meant to get some farm, but not as much farm as your carry. And if your carry starts struggling, you expect to kick your support out and just say, you know, I'll have a game. Make sure they have the best game that they need.
We're seeing some voice lines starting to come out from both sides. Looking at the Dire starting items, I don't see many surprises here. The only thing of note being, I see Luna, who I'm assuming is going off lane, with the AA going safe lane, starting with 3 mangoes. So we're going to be anticipating her spamming this Lucent Beam. But other than that, it looks pretty standard. Beastmaster opening with the Sage's Mask, AA going for a bit of a harass support build, Puck with your standard mid-opening items. Rushing the stat item.
Rushing that stat item, wants to get that extra right-click damage, make sure he's got that advantage, especially into an Invoker. If this is a Quas Exort Invoker, he's going to have a lot of extra damage with the Exort.
Is Invoker skilled yet?
He's not skilled yet.
He is not skilled yet.
Yeah, we see the Sage's Mask up on this Beastmaster. It's pretty standard because you want to... Your power spikes are always when you can get the 2 boars out and you've got just a couple seconds where you've got these multiple boars out, especially on the level 2, or not level 2, when you've got level 2 and level 3 of the wild boar at your level 3 and your level 5, these odd numbered levels for Beastmaster, the safe laner has got to be very careful. Luckily it is a life stealer, so he is able, if he gets that rage, he is going to be able to rage it off, but I have played that lane as the Beastmaster. If the life stealer sticks around, this Beastmaster would be able to solo him, especially with an Undying. They're both melee. They both want to be in the creep wave. They both want to be fighting. If you can catch them off guard on your odd numbered levels with the double bores, especially if you get this orb of corrosion or something that amplifies the bore damage just a little
Yeah,
bit, it can cause serious
Beastmaster.
problems.
I always thought Beastmaster was an interesting hero from a counterplay perspective because sometimes it feels great. You're able to shut down the boars, and the lane is almost free. And there are times when Beastmaster just hits like Beastmaster has multiple power spikes from what you were saying with the odd levels. He has these item power spikes. Whether he opts to go for the Rush Necro book is very popular. He has his level 6 power spike. And so when Beastmaster is in his lane, it's like you're constantly worrying about what he's going to do next, and oh no, it's already here.
Yeah, it really becomes the onus is on the support to understand how the Beastmaster wants to play the lane and make sure that he's constantly in communication with his safe laner, letting him know, hey, he's going to have the two boars up, you need to back up a little bit. Okay, I'm going to try and trap this boar. Okay, let's kill this. Let's make sure that he doesn't hit this power spike, because if you're able to take out the boar that he just summoned, or able to just get rid of the old boar to make sure that he doesn't have two, you can make the lane go in a lane where Beastmaster's supposed to win. You can make the lane go even as a support by just controlling his power spikes, just making sure that you know, okay, he's gonna try to do this right now. Let's make sure that we just get rid of this like if we just get rid of this boar, he doesn't have this power spike. Like it's much harder for him to walk you down because you don't have the double boar slow. That's
The
a big thing
disadvantage
level 2.
to summon creatures is, well, the advantage to having multiple units is you have multiple units. There are multiple targets. You can do a lot of kiting and interesting aggro mechanics. The downside is those units do grant XP. Those units do grant gold. Um, and so that is one way that the lane can turn around for Beastmaster is if he's unable to get the denies off on his own summons, if the supports are able to pressure that. But we're going to have to see how an Undying is able to pressure the boar. This Undying playing pretty standard openings. I don't see any Orb of Venom on him. So he's not going to be trying to kill the Beastmaster in a heads-up matchup, but maybe he doesn't need the Orb of Venom because of the Ghoul Frenzy if it ever comes to that.
And it is a strength-based offlaner into the Undying, which does make a huge difference because he's going to not just nerf the HP of the Beastmaster, he's also going to be nerfing his ability to get those last hits because he's going to be sapping his strength and taking down his overall damage. But the downside of being this Undying is you don't have this quick burst to get down the boar. Yeah, you can't steal the strength from the boar. Without that Orb of Venom, it's going to be harder to walk down the boars. Because that's the other option is if you have some sort of slow, you can tag the boar if the micro is slightly off and it's a little bit out of position. You tag it quick with some sort of slowing mechanism and just go, okay, I've got the boar, we need to hit this thing now. But
Now,
it
I
could
do
be
know
that
that
the...
Beastmaster was nerfed recently. The boars are a little weaker at level 1. They're a bit easier to play into, or a bit less oppressive. Maybe easier is the wrong word. But I wasn't hoping that he'd be so nerfed that we lose the Beastmaster entirely out of this game.
Yeah, it's a...
As SJ Jam is throwing it out in all chat.
Yeah, it was the overall move speed of the boars was decreased from 350 at all times to 320, 330, 340, and 350. And that does make a difference because one of the big things that you can do with the Beastmaster is you can play the lane and you have these boars sitting behind you, and as long as you have enough regen, you can just stay and keep getting these last hits. And then what you can do is you can take these boars, you can run them into that side jungle where the support is normally sitting, and you start tagging the support with the boars. Once you get level 2, you can start harassing him and getting him low. Once he gets to about half, if he's out of position and you've got boots, you just walk yourself over, you finish off the kill, and then you walk right back to lane. And you can, if you're good with the micro, you can play kind of the two positions instead of playing just the one position. You can help your support harass. At the same time, you can still fight with this safe laner for farm. Because that's typically what you want to see between your two supports, is they want to have this, like their goal is to have a jungle dance. They want to fight in the jungle. They want to keep the other support off the lane. Whoever can get back to the lane and get a couple of hits off on the other team's core is going to get a lane advantage. But if they're sitting there playing footsie in the jungle the whole time, it's basically their ability, they just negate each other in lane, and it's just all about like the mechanics of these two heroes in lane, just who has the better mechanics to get those last hits. But if you've got this Beastmaster who's adding a couple extra hits and some slows into this footsie that these two supports are playing in the jungle, one of them's going to have a severe advantage, and it's going to be the one who's got these two extra units that are causing him problems. And then if they've got any way to hold them there, then the Beastmaster walks over and just finishes with a quick like 5v1, especially with the level 3 power spike. I've done that before where I kept my boars in the jungle the whole time, just harassing the support. Support wasn't able to get his boots. I got the Orb of Corrosion once he was low enough. Just walked over, tagged him once, and just let the boars walk him down once the minus armor was applied, and just walked right back to lane. And just went, okay, cool. He's going to die. My boars can do the work. I'm going to sit here, just keep fighting this. That was actually a lifestealer at that time. I'm just going to keep fighting this lifestealer for creeps, try to make sure that I get my denies off. And then my support ended up just leaving the lane. He said, cool, your boars are playing support. Like, you're fighting in the lane, your boars are playing support, I don't actually need to be here, let me go get a huge advantage in another lane, because now we're going to be going 3v2 in this top lane. And then my top laner ended up having a field day, because he's got these two supports, and they both had stuns, and they ended up being able to run over his lane, and run away with the game, because I was able to get a little bit of advantage early with these double boars. That's because the safe lane support didn't burst down my new boar. If he had burst down my new boar when I summoned it, that would have been a different lane.
Yeah, Beastmaster completely has the ability, if he gets ahead, to stay ahead. Continuing to talk about the Dire, I know, Exile, you play a lot of Luna. What do you think about the courier that she decided to bring into this game?
That is an interesting courier. You'll take a look at this guy. Looks like he's got a carpet, a treasure chest. I mean, both those things. Luna needs the carpet rolled out for her, make sure she's feeling like the princess of the moon. I don't know what the treasure chest is gonna hold in it, but you know.
Maybe a bounty.
Support Luna probably not gonna hold a whole lot at this rate. Luna, one of these.
Well, Beastmaster has reconnected. So we're gonna see if all of the things we talked about come true.
Or see if we just were completely talking out our ass and had no idea how the lane was going to play out. But that's the fun of Dota, right? Because there's the theory and there's the mechanics. Like that, you have this theory of the way the lane should go based off the heroes and how they should play. But then there's always the element of the person actually playing the hero can play it completely different than you expect, and you can see lanes go completely awry that are typically like straight up win lanes, and that completely change the mechanics of the game. And that's part of what makes it so fun to cast, because you've got this this off lane here of the CK plus the Rubik, and you say, okay, they've got they have like all these illusions that they're going to be dealing with.
Drops the ward. Rubik's getting going on.
And unfortunately, they're probably going to know that that ward was there as well.
It shall be duly noted.
Undying getting the 4-man decay, but it's not going to do much.
And important to note that Zom did get that last hit, so your mid laner is up a little bit of XP, but more importantly, he's up the extra gold, right? So he's got now lane advantage over this Invoker. But they were able to secure the bounty.
They were able to secure the bounty, and they look angry.
Now here's the problem. This Luna is not very fast. But able to get the harass off with those mangoes. Notice that she can use that Lucent Beam quite often.
Undying beginning to lose the strength. CK begins his trade, and Undying says, now that Rubik's back, I can rotate bottom, and he leaves. So it looks like we've still got 3 supports top from the side of the Dire.
And
Nope, Luna decides to TP.
And we do see the telekinesis picked up by the Rubik first. That is unfortunate because you want to see the... as a Rubik player, you typically want to get that Fade Bolt level 1 because it's much lower cooldown, a lot more harass, telekinesis. The level 1 is just not a whole lot. Only a 0.8 second lift time, and unless you're hitting somebody with it, it's just sitting at 0.8, like a 0.8 second stun. Level 1 is a mini stun. It's worse than the Lucent Beam, which does 75 damage on top of a 0.8 mini stun.
Undying, keeping the Beastmaster off the Creep Wave. Creep Wave still pushing into the side of the Dire. Mid lane. Not seeing a whole lot.
Silence.
Now we can see that that advantage the puck got early, he's really able to capitalize on it and getting some harass out onto this Invoker. Invoker now has the 2 points in Exort, so he's able to get more attack damage to the puck, but for a little while the puck had much more attack damage, had the extra level because of the bonus XP that he got from the First Blood and getting the last hit on it. Does get to the deny on the range creep, that is unfortunate for the Invoker. Range creep's very important, especially in these 1v1 matchups. Every amount of gold and XP is going to make a huge difference, but we see Rubik and the AA battling it out up here. AA uses a Fairy Fire. Rubik, knowing that Sunstripe is coming, is just battling it out, knowing that he had more damage than the AA was able to do with the he had the Ring of Protection and the Ring of Regen, so that does come in handy when you're just trading blows at these early fights. Plus regen is plus regen. That's more hits that you're going to have to get through, especially when attack damage is quite low early on.
Bottom lane, Undying's ferrying out some mana regen, opting for a Sage's Mask, and ferrying out another Clarity and Mango. Lifestealer picking up on some harass, hasn't had to go through any of his tangos yet. They do get a bit of a pull off.
But only got the one creep though, unfortunately. But it will still be able to put the lane in their favor, which is really what you want to see. You want to get the lane back on your side. You want to maintain your lane presence and make sure it's near your tower, make sure you're safer, especially against these boars. Like, you don't want to let the boars wrap around on you. If you've got this tower, boars do not last long against a tower, so you know, okay, if I got my back to this tower, I'm not going to get wrapped on by these boars. I can always go hide under the tower and I'm going to be fine. Does have level 3 on the Beastmaster though, and the 2 boars.
Undying having Tombstone instead of Soul Rip. Luna obviously skipping Bouncing Glaives as a support, choosing to max Lucent Beam, excuse me.
Regeneration.
Regen picked up by Puck in the mid lane. Invoker going for a Sunstrike, trying to cancel that regen, but Puck able to use his free Illusory Orb and regen up the rest. Now, I always like to see that when heroes are using that regen, they try to spam their spells to try to make that regen rune last as long as possible, get as much of an advantage as they can. Invoker having to sit with Quas. Ooh, I missed a kill down on bottom lane. Undying does go down. Let's yeah, just with the 2 points in Lucent Beam, it does 150 damage with the mini stun. You got the boar slow.
Not while I'm around.
Undying was sitting pretty
if
low.
they wanted to play for Tombstone and Ghoul Frenzy, but never got the opportunity to run them down, because we're seeing this early point in Tombstone. We're seeing 2 ranks in Ghoul Frenzy, which you can get for the attack speed, but the feast increases your sustain. And the 1-1-1 build obviously just lets you run people down absent slows. And here we go. Here's the Tombstone.
Now, neither of these heroes is particularly mobile because both of them have to rely on their move speed, but not enough slow in order to keep them there. Like, the ghouls are just not doing enough to hold them in place. So they are able to walk out from the tombstone, not able to kill it, which, if you're able to kill that early on, you do get a huge advantage. We'll see if they try to...
That's a lot of gold.
Yeah, they don't try to sneak over and get it with the boar advantage. They just ignore the tombstone entirely.
Mid lane, we're seeing Invoker picking up a lot of harass from the Puck, as the Puck is able to spam out those spells. There goes the ulti from Puck. Invoker's got the magic wand. The counter engage is strong.
Yeah, the magic wand coming in very handy.
36 last hit, 7 denies to Invoker's 21. Puck definitely has the advantage at this point in the lane. Especially with a level 6 power spike that Invoker is not going to have. Invoker sitting about, what is that, 900 gold from his Hand of Midas? But he does pick up the Arcane Rune top. Meanwhile, we see Luna possibly moving to make a rotation.
Does have the mango, so we'll have the Lucent Beam. I think a Lucent Beam plus Puck's Burst, because he has the 2 points in Waning Rift and the Illusory Orb, should be enough. And there it is.
And the Invoker goes down.
Luna getting the last hit with the right click. Yeah, you definitely want to kill him before he gets that Midas, because it's a big timing, especially for Quas Exord Invoker. You are all about, I want to kind of sustain and sit in lane, and I want to soak up my levels, and I want to do some damage with my Sunstrike while I'm farming levels and money. Just with this
and
Midas.
Here's the double boar necro combo. Lifestealer's taking a lot of damage, a lot more than I think he thought he was going to take. He pinged to going on the Beastmaster. But the tombstone is doing work. Beastmaster goes down.
Yeah, he didn't back out fast enough, and you see he kind of like danced around the lane a little bit.
Top. Rubik and AA trade lives.
Yeah, and unfortunately for the CK, the real winner of that is this Phantom Lancer, who is not getting slowed down at all, is keeping up with the Lifestealer. Yeah, he's got his illusions now. CK does not have his illusions. It's going to be a little bit rough for him. But the advantage of having the CK, with all of his illusions, he has a lot of burst. So if you find the right PL, especially in the early to mid game with those illusions, you are normally able to burst him down before he can do any of his doppelganger shenanigans and get out. Doppelwalk being the old skill that he used to have.
I can't keep track anymore. There's just too many PLs.
Too many iterations of that hero. He's one of those heroes that has had quite a few reworks. Juxtapost being his... I think that might have been his only ability that hasn't been reworked at all. Versus all the rest of them.
Top 4 rotation. Pinging under the tower. Has the ulti, has the illusion rune. Missing a kill bottom on the...
it was just the standard roar necro.
He hit the 6. There's those
He's gotta be careful though, that's under tower. Does not, tries to dodge it with the illusion rune.
They try and turn, but he still has coil. That's a lot of damage. Puck picking up what looks to be a triple kill.
Yeah, it was an excellent
those
coil.
Actually did not all go to Puck. But I'd say those nukes were largely responsible for that amount of damage.
Yeah, it's what you want to see with a rotation from mid. If you miss a rotation, it's very sad. He almost missed it because he dove under tower and they were fine. They rotated, but you can see they stepped out of the tower. They didn't honor.
Add insult to injury while they're diving top. Beastmaster just took bottom.
Yep. That's the necro unit, the quick necro book plus the boars just.
They rotate bottom, but they lose their top tower.
Now it seems to be falling apart for XBomb Imperium here as the trash units, as Kyle's put it one time, just said, get a bunch of units with trash, throw them at the enemy team, make them deal with it. And you can see that's what Pretty Good is doing, just putting a bunch of units in lanes, just saying, okay, just deal with it. We're gonna go hit these tier 1s, you're gonna have to try and rotate around to deal with us. And we now have level 2 book on the Beastmaster. Most likely helped along.
Take a look at the net worth, or taking a look at the net worth. We see Puck has almost twice the amount of gold that Invoker has. Or
Yeah,
at least
that
his
early
bar is
kill.
twice as long. It's about 2,000 more at the moment, but Puck a full item ahead.
Yeah, 10 minutes in is able to get the Midas. You typically want to see that about 7 minutes. That's that Luna rotation with that burst from the Lucent Beam and the Puck doing the heavy burst build with the Illusory Orb and the Waning Rift. That really slowed down the Invoker and stopped him in his tracks, especially when you lose your gold while you're trying to work towards that Midas. You definitely, if you die after the Midas, it's sad, but dying before that Midas is catastrophic, especially...
No, I didn't see this. Rubik has Eclipse. This could be a playmaker.
It's just level 1 Eclipse, which is but it is 6 instances of damage, so you want to see... He's no pullback though, no reality rift from the CK yet. He's got all stun.
And the
But with 6 instances,
spot out the Rubik.
Yep.
Rubik spots that he was spotted.
Yeah, the level 1 Eclipse, you don't want to try to go on this Beastmaster. The problem being that he's got
down the Phantom Lancer, getting the finishing blow with Spirit Lance. But going bottom, and there's Rubik goes down.
Yep, that's just Roar combo with units. He can't use this Eclipse to save himself. Beastmaster able to pop those units when you only have 6 hits of the Lucent Beam, and there's 5 units in the area. The chances that you're going to get all 6 on the Beastmaster is just exceptionally low. Almost does have the Diffusal Blade finished up on the PL, working on that Yasha next. So with the Diffusal Blade says that he wants to get more aggressive early. Typically you'll see that Yasha saying he wants to farm, but now getting aggressive onto this Lifestealer who is 2 levels behind. We see a big team fight breaking out mid, trying to take that mid tower. We saw the Luna
they
went
do
down.
Pick up the return kill on the AA and the Luna. They want more. They want the Puck. Beastmaster's doing work. Tombstone's doing work. A lot of units here. We're diving for the Puck. In comes the silence. And the lifesteal sustain is not enough.
Very close, but was able to fog in. That little move into the trees is very important from the Puck because the Reality Rift was off cooldown, so he would have finished him off with a Chaos Strike and the minus armor from Reality Rift, probably just with a regular hit on the Puck, but because he was able to fog him at the last second, meant that he was able to get safe, knowing that Phantom Lancer was TPing in, he was taking tower hits.
We see Luna saying play around their bottom jungle. They're chasing the Lifestealer out of it. Lifestealer constantly walking under boars. He's going for this early fighting build with the armlet over, I don't think he'd have time for Midas, but possibly over the mini Mjolnir.
This is going to be... Oh. Unfortunately, Beastmaster without those boots was behind the units of his own units and the Luna, not able to get the Roar out. I think they needed to lead with the Beastmaster Roar there, not the Lucent Beam. Because if they get the Roar off, level 3 Necrobook is going to kill that Lifestealer who does not have his armlet yet. Oh,
and here comes
able to get that Illusory Orb off with the Rubik, but dies before he's able to use it. Undying goes down with the Lifestealer inside of him, but we can see just the Beastmaster army most likely going to walk him down with the Puck coming around with the Illusory Orb that's more than enough damage to take him down. 6-19, 10k lead for the side of pretty good, and I think it mostly just comes down to ease of execution here.
I think it's
dire draft
execution. I think this goes back to what we were talking about earlier with draft order, where they pick the Undying Rubik early and realize they can't deal with Zoo.
Yeah, like the pretty good knows that they can't deal with Zoo, and Zoo lineups are exceptionally easy to execute, right? Like your game plan is walk down lane, Beastmaster. If Primal Roar's off cooldown, you go walk at somebody and you kill them with those Necrobook and Boar. If you've got your units up, like if you got a PL army, you walk down lane, you hit things, you come in late, you clean up fights. Just very straightforward game plan. Whereas the Radiant here, it's a lot trickier. You've got an Undying, you've got the CK off lane. CK off lane can work and it can be very dominant, but it does make your execution.
Get the D ward, but
Puck there doing a lot of damage with that Witchblade,
and that is my ward.
He did have a haste rune. Let's see if he can finish off this Undying. Should be able to. Luna takes the last hit with a Lucent Beam.
Ooh,
Lifestealer
Luna
getting
first item Vlad.
aggressive. I like to see that going for the Aura hero, because Beastmaster does not typically pick up these Aura early. He gets this Necro 3 almost before anything else. We saw him pick it up before he even picked up Boots. It's just that important to the hero to really be able to snowball. Luna going for this first item Vlad's means you still have that Aura unit. Like, you've got the teamfight Aura, you've got, I believe it still gives armor, it gives some lifesteal, bonus damage. And you can see the Zoo here taking 2 units out very quickly, getting that bonus gold. Puck coming in with the coil.
DK's angry though.
But he's got to be careful. This Switchblade Puck is very dangerous. Does get a lot of damage out on the Puck though. Let's see. Rubik not able to do anything, unfortunately. Did lose vision there. There's got to be careful. Because they could just, if they get this Boar Slow on him. And there's the Boars. There's the Boar Slow. This Rubik is going to go down. That long range attack of the Chilling Touch by the AA is what they needed to get those Boars in range. Boars now level 4, having that 350 move speed. It's very dangerous when you're this Rubik and you don't have a Force Staff, you don't have a Blink. You got to be careful because you will get locked down. You are very squishy.
And the other thing that's hard to deal with this lineup is that if you can't do it with Beastmaster, you can't do it with PL. So what's happening is they're grouping around the Beastmaster while PL split farms. And what are your options?
Yeah, you're gonna lose your entire map, and you're gonna lose all your map control if you don't go against this 4 death ball that's kind of walking down your lanes. But at the same time, you're not dealing with this PL, and the best way to win games in this current patch is have a 4, like a group of 4 that can walk down lanes and take objectives, force the other team to, like, force all 5 of the other team to deal with them, and just leave your safe laner to farm. And then the safe laner is basically just the alley-oop that's going to come by at the end of the game and say, hey, I'm big, guys. You won the game for me. I will finish it for you.
That's so unfortunate. Look at all these D wards that are just out of range. We see one here. We see one here. This is almost in range. Those are just skirting their ability to be dewarded. It does look like they are bringing their Crow up in an attempt to bring this one.
Yeah, they knew that one was there from earlier, but trying to take it down, the Puck ended up getting a double kill,
And
almost a triple kill.
They come out looking to see if there's anybody lingering in the triangle, but thanks to the Boars, they, not the Boars, excuse me, the Hawks. They know there's nobody there, and they proceed to lane.
Yeah, the
they do pick up
Dire.
a kill on Invoker.
Yeah, that's the. Just Blink Drain Coil keeps him from going anywhere. Going for the Ags on the Puck, just wanting to make sure this Lifestealer just has no game whatsoever. His big tool is the free BKB, that he can get up to 6 seconds, which is very useful, not having to go for this BKB item. But that Ag Scepter on the Puck is going to make it a non-factor. Undying just going down to the Swarm here. The PL getting the extra gold on the Tombstone, taking down this tier 3. I'm not sure what the Radiant can do other than Dire making some serious misplays to come back into this
I think
one.
at this point your best bet is to not tilt and hope for game 2.
Yeah, I think what you want to do here is really just
somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but you can't tilt off of this, right?
Yeah, you still got another game. You've got a way to, you got time to split evenly. They do call the GG. It might have been it wasn't necessarily an early GG from losing perspective, but you could have just taken the time to say, hey, everyone just go on autopilot. Let's figure out game 2. Let's figure out what hurt us here, and let's make sure that we have a good draft coming in. Like, let's find out what they did well. Let's fix those holes in our draft. And you could have gotten just some free strategy time, because 6-29, you know that game's over, but you could have definitely kind of taken a little bit of some advantage to get a little side conversations going. All right.
Oh, whoops.
We are now in the lobby for the second game. Nice quick turnaround. But good draft and good execution from Pretty Good there, and then that game 1 thing. Played a very straightforward game. They didn't drop They didn't have any like big misplays. They didn't drop their momentum. They got early momentum with that first blood, and they transitioned it basically into full map control and just dominating the entire game from start to finish. They had a very clean performance.
Are you streaming or recording this between sessions?
Right now, yes. I can pause it if you need a couple seconds.
Where will I be able to watch it?
Radiant's turn to ban.
Alright, now we're here for game 2 of Pretty Good versus XPOM Imperium. They've switched sides and switched picks, so Pretty Good on the Radiant, XPOM on the Dire. XPOM getting that last pick now.
We're seeing
Pretty
some of
good.
the same bands come out.
Identical first 3 bands, but XPOM
Beastmaster
now
this time.
getting rid of that Beastmaster, knowing that was... This is the second time I've seen this happen where you get Beastmastered in the first game and then you ban it in the second game going, there's not a lot of heroes that replace the Beastmaster that do the same thing with the same low cooldowns that he's got. Let's just get rid of him.
And I think that's the difficulty about practicing in pubs, right? Is that you forget that things like Zoo exist. You forget that things like 4-man Dota exist if you're over-reliant on your pub practice. We do see a utility pick coming out from Pretty Good in the Marana. Most likely, I would guess a 4, but it could be run as in any lane.
Yeah, didn't want to go for that Luna again. Which I felt like the Luna could almost have been any hero the way that he played. Because it wasn't like, oh man, this Luna. But it was like he played very well, and it was mostly about his positioning and how he played, not necessarily what he played. So I feel like he could play pretty much anything and do pretty well, which is what I like about the current meta, is that you can get greedier with your 4 and your 5 as long as you make sure they have the tools to do what they need to do. Now we see the... Go ahead.
Well, I'll go this time. We see the Juggernaut pick coming out. Spoke last draft about how I liked throwing your carry out there. Pretty Good says, well, I think Slardar is good in the Juggernaut. He can punch through spin. I think that is a lane that has potential to go either way. If the Juggernaut gets ahead, the Slardar can often find it difficult to contest if the Juggernaut has a strong support. And we've seen strong supports be the classic CM Juggernaut combo. We've seen them also be things like Grimstroke and Lich. Really peaking slows and the double disable is very difficult to deal with.
Now you see Shadow Shaman picked up by XPOM. Yep. Pretty good with the Juggernaut. Now, really, all Juggernaut needs is something to hold you a little bit there, or like the... I forget what the ability name is now on Shadow Shaman. But if you get the Shackles, that's what it is, Shackles. So if you get the Shackles out, or if you just pick a support with a slow, either one. So the way the Slardar Juggernaut lane goes is Slardar can really beat into the Juggernaut, but if you tag him with something that holds him still while Juggernaut has spin, you're going to get the kill on the Slardar because he's not going to go early points into that Guardian sprint. Like if you catch him like level 1, level 2, he's not going to have the points in the Guardian sprint, right? Because he's going to say, I want to get this kill with these stuns, unless he's playing super safe.
Yeah, he's playing for the lane, usually.
Yeah, so like...
I think at those early levels against Juggernaut, because the kill potential is just there, right? Like, you can't stun and run because you don't have boots or sprint yet, like you said. Your support is unlikely to be able to throw any kind of resistance his way. And so it's just a guaranteed lot of damage if you get tagged at all.
And it's you're not very tanky early with the Slardar either, so the spin combo, level 1, level 3, has a good chance to kill you. Yeah, and we see Mars and CK banned by Pretty Good, so I guess they thought the CK was pretty decent, didn't want to deal with it with their current lineup. Probably something that doesn't want to deal with too much Zoo in the CK. Getting rid of the Omni Knight, that's an interesting ban. That's a very... It either looks really good or it looks really bad kind of hero. Mars just generally pretty good. It can be played...
XCOM banning 3 of the heroes that were selected last time.
Yeah, I guess just realizing how much of a problem they were in the previous game and just saying we don't want to deal with it. But that does leave Pretty Good, as long as they have like multiple heroes that they're pretty comfortable with, leaves them pretty open to pick whatever they want. But they are pretty good heroes, other than I think the PL. I think PL is very situational. It has to be a PL game in order for it to look good.
And I'm surprised they banned the PL because I think it's possible to draft into it, but
it doesn't feel very strong right now.
Disjoint the Juggernaut ulti. But once again, PA can do similar things. I do think a pretty good win for PA. That would put
Pudge.
them in a lot of physical damage, but we see a Pudge coming out from XPOM Imperium.
It's a nice spicy pick.
There's a lot of stereotypes here. Yeah, okay, so you're gonna call it spicy.
10 seconds remaining.
I mean, it can be good spicy, or it can be just American spicy that's just bland and there to burn you. Hurts going in, hurts going out. Didn't taste that good in either way, so we'll see what kind of spice this is.
Are you telling me you wouldn't like to taste Pudge?
I would not like to taste Pudge. If he's anything like the Blazing Hot Wing Challenge at Buffalo Wild Wings, it's going to hurt going in, it's going to hurt going out, and at the end of the day, it didn't taste that good, and you're not thinking as much like it wasn't a good use of your time. But, I mean, if this is a good Pudge player, this could be an Indian hot.
Yeah, we'll see where this goes. Pretty good burning a lot of time here, so I think I'm not sure if they were caught off guard by the Pudge or okay, we see a disruptor. Disruptor very good against Pudge. Both his ultimate and his W, breaking the channel. The W, or excuse me, his Q, doing a lot of damage.
10 seconds.
At level 1. When
Shadow
Pudge
Shaman
is
as well.
able
Seconds remain.
To really threaten the lane, Disruptor has the ability to generate a lot of lane presence.
Yeah, and because you've got that, you don't have that last pick on pretty good, you do see 3 of their picks before you pick your third pick, so you can really take that third pick and try and tie your game together. But with a Bane pick, that I believe this means that has to be core Pudge, because Shadow Shaman and Bane are not going to be cores.
Or 3.
So that Pudge is going to be 3, or that's going to be mid.
5 seconds.
So it could be interesting if we see a off-lane Shadow Shaman or an off-lane Bane. It would be...
XPOM once again, didn't they opt in for the double int supports?
Yeah, they opted for double.
They did not. No, that didn't happen.
They had the strength.
They had the undying. Excuse me. I'm full of poo. Just ignore that statement. But XPOM opting for double int supports this game, which typically gives you a lot of catch and no beef.
Yeah, Alchemist, good pickup by pretty good. Now, the thing you're going to have to be careful with XPOM, you have Shadow Shaman who wants to stand in channel, and you've got Bane who wants to stand in channel. Both things Slaughter likes, because that means he's got a very specific spot and a very specific job that he needs to execute, and he doesn't have to, he's not going to have to run around the fights to do it. He just needs to say, okay, where's the Shadow Shaman, where's this Bane? Whichever one's going off first, that's where I go. I just need to go in, and they're not going to stop you coming in because they're going to be in the middle of their channel. It's going to be on whichever one is not currently channeling to try and keep him from doing one of his 2 ways of stopping your channel. Because if you're just standing there, if he doesn't have his bash prepped already, he can get 3 hits off during your channel.
Absolutely. Do you think this is a game where Starter opts for an early blink, or do you think he builds those stat items?
I think he builds the stat items because he knows that what he's going to have to execute in the team fights is disrupting these channels. They're not going to be moving. Guardian Sprint.
Go for the blink.
I mean, it can go both ways, but I think just stats and then Guardian Sprint would be more than enough to just get in and take care of business. Because the other option is that they need to use it on him, which I think he's perfectly fine with, because then the problem being you're going to have this Alchemist running around in the middle of the team fight. But pretty good getting rid of the Meepo, so they're worried about getting Meepo'd here. They didn't want to have to deal with it into the Alchemist. That's the one thing Alchemist doesn't want to deal with, is another hero that comes online early and has a lot of game presence. Because Alchemist wants to be that hero, and if somebody else does it better, he's going to have issues. Using a lot of their reserve time, though, for this last ban, trying to make sure
that
they
they already know what they want to last pick?
I I think they probably have a good idea, but normally if I'm spending a lot of time on my last ban, that means I'm trying to figure out what my last pick is, so I need to decide what is really going to counter that last
Well,
that
maybe just
last
throw
pick.
Viper out. They don't want to get Vipered. Common shutdown hero usually
Trust
selected
on
in
the
the mid lane.
Alchemist very well. Like it's very good against the Alchemist mid lane, and the Alchemist wants to have
10 seconds.
at least an okay time in the mid lane, and that Viper tends to just murder him,
5
and
seconds
like not just stop him
remaining.
from farming, but kill him and keep him from getting that experience as well. I expect him getting rid of the Queen of Pain, not wanting to see another mobile hero, especially if you get that Blink Silence would wreak havoc on the Shadow Shaman and the Bane as well, because then you definitely wouldn't need that Slaughter Blink if you've got this Queen of Pain coming in and doing it.
So do we think this is a safe lane alchemist or a mid alchemist? We've seen it's been played both in high tier Dota.
I'm not sure, but I think it is better mid. Like it can work in the safe lane because it's always an alchemist. You always have to deal with it. Based on XPOM Imperium's bans, they believe it to be a safe lane alchemist. It does have issues in the safe lane. It doesn't get as many levels. It's harder for it to farm, but if you're able to protect your small camp and you're able to stack it, Alchemist can take that small camp very early. So you can see a lot of success in the safe lane because you've got your support getting like a triple stack on this small camp, and then while that's normally not very good for your game as any other carry with Alchemist, that's like a third of your relic right there. You can walk in and do that every 3 minutes.
And once again, Clinks usually run mid lane, but could be run safe lane. So I think we are leaning towards the safe lane alchemist, but pretty good. Could give them the good old switcheroo.
10 seconds.
Yeah, Clink's definitely wanting to get those levels. Alchemist gonna get those levels one way or another, but Clink's Snowball hero really wants to get that snowball rolling.
Wind Ranger
And
Asher's
XPOM going for the
And
Wind
there's
Ranger.
Wind Ranger.
The ultimate choice.
Good. I like that pick into Clinks.
Yeah, does similar things that Clinks does, but lasts a lot longer with the Wind Run plus the ultimate. Strafe being a very short version of Wind Run plus ultimate from Wind Ranger.
And it's the hot sauce goblin on Pudge. Talk about spicy.
Yeah, we got some nice cosmetics coming out on the Bane. I don't know if you can see it, but he's got that expensive head.
The treasure. He's got the, what was that, the Dire Tide treasure?
Yep, it's the Dire Tide.
And the spooky arms.
Yep, he's got all the I think those are the only two immortals that have been made for him so far. Could be wrong. I do like Bane, but I haven't played him a whole lot recently. Somewhat fell out of the meta for a little bit. But
Bane was
still
very strong when mangoes were very strong. And that's not to say he's not good now, but when mangoes were busted, so was Bane.
It's because he
Bane
uses
is a
so
hero
much mana.
Yeah, Bane is a hero that just translates mangoes into health and damage, just directly.
Yep, and he's one of the best. He's I think the best early trader as far as supports go, and probably as far as anybody goes, because he sucks your life and takes it for himself. Like you can't win a trade against Brain Sap. It just doesn't work.
And we see the fast smoke coming out from XPOM Imperium, but a 4-man rotation bottom
An ephemeral
from the Radiant.
So we see Raminolo on the
both people
Juggernaut.
drawing
We
on the
have
mat.
Captain Drunk on the Bane. We've got Jam on the Shadow Shaman. Hot Sauce Goblin, like you said, on the Pudge.
Oh, Juggernaut starting with a fluffy hat. That looks
We've
a
got-
little,
Orba Corrosione is what that looks like.
And they try and go for the catch, but they weren't
It's
quite
not
there
quite
in
there.
time.
We see NBT.
But we
We've
see it
got
going again.
There's the arrow, the
Pudge
stationary.
still has hook.
First blood is on the ground.
Does get the first blood on NBT, who's on the Wind Ranger.
Hooks the
Pudge.
Bane out
Oh,
of
that's
the- Ooh.
unfortunate. Does want to
I'm
get
not
that
sure if
extra
that was
damage.
intended. But Wind Ranger is going through, trying to get a kill on Mirana, but Mirana pops the Fairy Fire. The Acid Spray isn't going to do enough. Mirana says, I want to get out of here. And
Ooh,
gets clipped by the
excellent
arrow right into the Slardar. This could be a very rough... And they're going to give it to the Alchemist.
Yep, Slardar just path locking. That is a 3-for-1 trade bottom. That is... I think that hook changes that fight because that's what kills the Mirana and keeps that arrow. Wind Ranger unfortunately having to take that route to try and escape. If she takes a different route, she most likely dies to just the extra damage because she did take that shackle to try and guarantee that level 1 hit. But let me call off the Radiant here. We have Manoy on the Slardar.
That's very unfortunate that XPOM got the initial drop off, but they weren't all in position to capitalize on it, so they wound up doing these 2 mini engagements. And I think they were able to secure the first blood, if I'm not wrong, but it just didn't work out for them in the end.
Yeah. Now we've got TShear on the Mirana. We've got Zom on the Clinks. We've got Apache on the Alchemist, and we've got Epi on the Disruptor over here.
And this is going to be a pause 3 pudge, starting with a Sage's Mask.
It is mana hungry, especially if you go with that early hook, but he did die, so he's back to full resources. But Pudge, not a lot of armor. We can see -2 already. Standing
and that's
in that.
why he's got the Ring of Prot.
Yep. He would be taking more than pure damage if he didn't have that Ring of Protection. So Alchemist, that Acid Spray, only -4 level 1, but when you already don't have any armor, that -4 becomes a serious issue.
Oh no. Oh, Wind Ranger popping another Fairy Fire, and another Fairy Fire comes out from Clinks. A lot of trading going on here. We saw Strafe into Wind Run.
Ooh,
oh
excellent
no!
shackle. You gotta watch that creep shackle.
And that's while Clinks had his Branch Tango running as well. But we see action going on bottom here. And Bane's just gonna back off.
Has the Nightmare level 1 instead of the Brain Sap, so looking to get some sleeps off, probably disrupt some last hits.
Oh, but Clinks gets the return kill.
Wind Ranger sticking around a little too low, a little too long. But yeah, Clink's he's gotta be careful of the creep shackle though, especially in the mid lane where the creeps are almost always in position that if the Wind Ranger can get a decent angle, there's almost always an angle to slap the creep and get the back shackle onto your hero.
I'm gonna just say this. Radiant has got a great start on their Alchemist. He's leading the net worth, or leading the last, excuse me. It's only 2 minutes in, but this is typically what you want to see when you pick Alchemist, right? Like, he's leading the last hits, 13, followed by Juggernaut at 9, and mid laners are punching each other repeatedly. But Wind Ranger picking up the ward kill, opting for 2 Observer wards and a Sentry.
Probably looking to get the make sure they can guarantee those runes. Make sure
Top Juggernaut getting the spin onto Slardar. Slardar is just going to salve up. Juggernaut getting the Wraith band and has the Fluffy Hat. And the Fluffy Hat is a lot of hit points. Maybe he just wants the extra survivability against Slardar to make sure that there's no option for Slardar to turn while he spins. Things like Orb of Venom. I hear Battle Fury, and here it goes again. Slardar's not having a good time. He goes down to that magic damage.
Yeah, that's the ability to hold in plus the spin. I've played that matchup into the Juggernaut as the Slardar. It's almost every time I pick Slardar, it's a bad matchup into it, but that's how I discover when you shouldn't play Slardar is I pick him, and almost always I find things like Juggernaut, things like Spectre Lich. You're not going to be able to do what you want to do, which is stand there and you want to smack him.
Oh, you were talking about triple stacks. Disruptor just triple stacked the small camp. You called it.
Yeah.
Trying to contest Theron's middle for Wind Ranger's bottle, but Wind Ranger does manage to pick up that illusion and use it to dispel the Thunder Strike.
Very important.
Opted for 2 points into for instead of a 1-1-1 build, opting for more a harass heavy build, walking through the Observer ward. He's going to take a bit of damage here from Bane. But Alchemist is just going to clean up this triple stacked camp with Acid Spray and 2 points in Grievel's Greed. Bane's going to try and contest, but
One side's misstep is the other's cunning play.
Not going to be able to contest.
unable to contest.
Yeah, with the 2 points in assist, where I played too much Alchemist in my time, and whenever you play him safe lane, you just tell your support, I don't care how the lane goes, just make sure that small camp is
Pick
stacked.
up onto the Disruptor kill, but an extra plus 21 gold. Alchemist is picking up the Pudge. And Pudge, well, okay, so he hasn't leveled Flesh Heap yet. I'm not sure if he would have gotten the point for that Disruptor. It may have been a little far away.
It doesn't really matter though, because he's not contesting these Alchemists. The Grievel's Greed stacks based off continuing to get last hits.
And Alchemist would be in the lead without Grievel's Greed. He's got 36 last hits right now. The next person is 23. Even if he didn't have Grievel's Greed, he'd still be winning the net worth war.
Yeah, he's 1,000 gold above the Wind Ranger, who is the next highest net worth.
I don't think so.
He is. And that's what you want to see as an Alchemist. You want to be at least about 33% higher than the next person in order for it to be even, because he has that Grievel's Greed. He's very much based off the items he can buy, not off of his stats, and not off of his abilities.
There's a snare under the Juggernaut. We see the spin come out.
And knowing it's a power spike because that arrow was down. Yeah, Shadow Shaman should be able to go down here. Wasn't able to get the Marana. Was excellently timed on the Shackle, knowing that the arrow was down. There was no way to disrupt the that Shackle.
Disruptor once again trying to contest the rune, paying for it this time. And we see Wind Ranger with absolute ward control mid.
Yeah, uses those wards to guarantee runes. Went for the bottle and has the DD rune now. But went for the bottle, whereas Clinks went for the stats, so needs to make sure she gets those runes in order to keep the regen up against this Clinks, who is going to be hitting harder than she is, especially now that he's level 7. He's got that Death Pact giving him a bonus of 37 right now. Wind Ranger getting 78 and equaling him with the DD rune, but DD rune's going to run out. Death Pact's going to continue to be able to be picked up. Juggernaut going down underneath the Dire or the Radiant Tier 1. Probably got a little bit too aggressive.
Forcing the rotation mid, but Pudge opts to cancel because he can't see the response, and there's nobody in his lane. I think Pudge is going to take this opportunity, and we're going to see if this Alchemist net worth matters, so to speak. It is quite possible that we're seeing a lot of things coming up top. That Pudge hit 6 and is able to make plays.
And that's what you're going to want to see with a Pudge. You want to see a Pudge get quick 6.
Oh.
It's empty.
Wind Ranger going down in mid lane underneath the tier 1. Probably trying to dive, get this Disruptor, but didn't have enough life to survive. Alchemist just farming away. Working on has the Soul Ring and the Phase Boots, going right for the Battle Fury next. Gets the Possessed
Pudge.
Mask.
Pudge,
Second
no
best
boots
level 1 item.
with Hood.
Looking
And
to
here's
survive.
the sleep. Here's the sleep. Sleep hook. Sleep hook. And there it is.
Level
and there's
6.
the chomp. And there it goes.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
It
Pudge
started.
fulfilling that,
Let's see if it
Panorama.
continues. Oh, and we're seeing another pickup on Shadow Shaman. Shadow Shaman getting the snare. And the Marana arrow is able to break it, and all of a sudden you're channeling what's almost without your cast range items a point blank snare against a Stardar who's just going to proceed to stun lock you against the Marana arrow. So once again, I think like we commented earlier, this Juggernaut lane against Slardar can go one way or the other, and it looks like Slardar's managed to claim the upper hand against it.
Very close to net worth, but now that he's got level 6, Juggernaut has to be very careful because he's got his stuns. Marana's got her stuns now. Excellent lane partner for the Slardar because you have triple stuns.
Oh, and there's another hook onto the Disruptor.
Not quite enough damage naturally, but able to kill him with the 90 attack damage on the Pudge. Has that hood so that Lightning Strike is not going to do a whole lot of damage. Alchemist just farming
Pudge,
stacks though.
That's the Urn of Shadows. There's another sleep. But he can't get the angle.
Yep,
And
too
he
many
doesn't have
creeps
the
in the way.
ultimate. So he doesn't have the lockdown against a Marana who's just going to leap away. Pudge now has the boots finished in his Urn of Shadows. That was very quick. Trying to get the hook off on Morana. Morana's still got 2 more leap charges. They're trying to get this sleep or shackle combo.
Illusion.
Looking
Yeah,
top. I'm not sure what's going on here. I missed a bit of this. Wind Ranger getting very low, trying to go on Slardar. Slardar trying to man
Gotta
up
be
on the
careful
Wind
with these
Ranger.
creeps. These range creeps
And
are
with the
doing a lot
corrosive
of
haze,
work.
the creeps are no joke.
Fortune's changed.
Juggernaut has ulti. He wants blood.
Middle tower.
Alt range very low though, level 1. Not in range with the Guardian Sprint, able to escape.
Dire's top tower is in danger.
Wind Ranger trying to get the shackle. They're gonna land the shackle. Gonna go down. Omni Slash Juggernaut does not do enough damage, but we see the Pudge just trying to get aggressive, but with the
game. This is a much closer game for both teams. I think Dire is much happier with this game.
Yeah.
At least so far.
like you do see the Alchemist. He's at 7k net worth. To the next highest is 4,200, but your Pudge is getting farm, and the next two are your Wind Ranger and your Pudge. The Clinks is fighting
And the Wind
them.
Ranger and the Pudge are doing work, right? Like they're getting these kills, they're making these rotations, or at least in Pudge's case, forcing and picking up some of the resulting kills.
Yeah, he's forcing rotations and picking up kills in that lane, which is what you want to see. Now, the next thing they need to do is they need to transition this into objectives, because the problem being, there's no way to pressure this Alchemist. Yeah, this Alchemist has Battle Fury. He's going to be cleaning up these stacks and cleaning up the creeps very quickly. Gotta be careful on the Wind Ranger. Here comes the...
I'm happy though with the Pudge not losing his head. His win condition wasn't bullying the Alchemist out of lane, it was winning at 6. And they're hitting their 6 power spike. He's got both supports playing around him. Pudge is screaming, "I am strong, play with me," and they're doing just that. Meanwhile, Radiant's responding by trying to apply mid pressure.
Yeah, they take down the Wind Ranger. That was just the combo from the Disruptor with the Glimpse and the Static Storm. Pulls her into the Static Storm. She can't win a run out of it.
Pudge
She
picking
just
up a
gets
duff.
right-clicked down.
He's going to be looking to go Clinks hunting.
He's going to have to.
Excuse me.
Bottom tower is under attack.
Juggernaut has the Javelin, opting for the Maelstrom build over the Battle Fury. He doesn't want to try and get a Battle Fury against an Alchemist.
Yeah, you gotta be
Juggernaut's
careful.
the highest person on the net worth, or excuse me, the highest person in CS on the Dire, and he's still 40 behind.
Dire should look to their top
Yeah,
tower.
he's 40 behind, and he's also 5,000 gold behind. This Alchemist
That is a
hitting.
Battle Fury. Oh wow,
Yeah,
that's a whole Battle Fury behind.
I don't know if you've checked the net worth, but Alchemist is now at 9,000. Juggernaut is at 4,300. This Alchemist is getting everything he wants out of this game.
Dire's middle tower has fallen.
Going for an S&Y. I like the sash resistance.
Oh
Pudge
no!
pulls him
Is
in.
it going to be enough? Is it going to be enough?
Wind Ranger gets the double shackle off, so they're inside of the Disruptor ultimate, but more than enough damage to kill the Alchemist, and that's what they need to do. Gonna be able to kill this Clinks. He is dusted.
And the snakes are able to pick it up. You get snake locked.
Yeah, ooh, sleep out on the Slaughter. Let's see. Oh, there comes the shackle. There's the...
Oh, I didn't realize because shackle does no damage, it won't break sleep.
Yeah, it's very nice for the setup. The sleep is very good
never
for setup.
realized that. I'm used to following it up with like a, you know, Alina stun or maybe Crystal Maiden.
Literally any other stun in the game, because I think they all do damage outside of shackle. It being one of the weirdest skill
Lift.
shots in the game. I guess Rubik Lift doesn't do damage.
Not anymore. It used to though, didn't it?
I believe it did used to. It might have been just
Shaman-
on the units that it landed on.
Shaman opting for the Mana Sustain with the Null Talisman and the Ring of Basilius.
And you've got Mana Boots on the Bane, so Mana Boots
Mana
plus
Boots on the Bane.
Octarine on the Bane, so he's gonna... We've seen him play around this Shadow Shaman, so Shadow Shaman's not too worried about his mana during those team fights, because they're pretty much doing their thing together, which is what you want to see from those two particular supports. They're not going to
Juggernaut,
do a lot.
moving in to take the ancient camps. Unlike for the side of the Radiant, there are no stacks here, so this is, I don't want to say an inefficient use of his time, but
It's
he
not as good
kind
as
of
it
does
could
wish
be.
he had these stacks here. Yeah. But 15-minute runes, they're coming back up.
Alchemist does have now a triple stack on the Ancients on his side, and with that Battle Fury and the Acid Spray, he is cleaning these stack up very quickly. He's going to have the full SNY finished. Died with none of the
Juggernaut with
SNY,
Spin
now has
Mjolnir,
full
or
SNY.
excuse me, Spin Maelstrom can do a lot of work on Ancients because even though your right click doesn't do damage, it still procs on hit effects like the lightning. But we're gonna see this smoke gank
Allies.
try and do work. It gets followed up with a Morana ult. They know they're here. They're gonna try and counter initiate.
Pin.
Ooh, excellent double shackle
and
by
there's
the
the
Wind
glimpse.
Ranger.
But Pudge got the hook follow up, but Clinks is there.
Pudge having to
The
be
dust
careful,
is there.
still
they
low armor.
see, they see
Dust on the
the
Clinks, and there's the shackle.
there's
Clinks
Clinks.
way out of position.
Followed by the hook.
Excellent team
Shadow
fight
Summons
from
are
the
gonna
side of
pick
the
up.
Dire.
They got another sleep.
Invisibility.
Oh, they're trying to walk back the sleep. I think this just gets them killed.
Yep. They needed to just... Someone was going to die. They needed to just sacrifice. That was an excellent fight from the Dire. You could see they get the quick pick off. They backed up on the Pudge to save the Pudge, and when the Clinks gets out of position, the rest of the Dire didn't back up. They filled in behind the Clinks, pushing him completely out of position, and just cleaned him up, and then turned around on the two remaining supports and just said, okay, one of you is going to die because you've been left out on an island by your two cores who got a little overzealous without being able to catch somebody, and that quick sentry drop, I believe it was by the Wind Ranger, is what spotted that Slardar, and then got the double shackle, knowing that they were all running down that staircase trying to jump on them.
And I'm not sure who this favors, because, right, like, Alchemist is just taking off, right? But he's AFK farming. And I know that Alchemist likes this. But let's not forget that they have Shackle, they have Sleep, they have Devour, they have Nightmare, they have Fiend's Grip. There is a lot of ways that they can turn all of this 15,000 gold onto Alchemist into 0.
Yeah, and that's
And it's all
the
BKB,
downside.
and much of it is BKB piercing. And so
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see how having all this net worth on the Alchemist with Dire following in the next 3 on their cores is going to turn out.
And that's the reason we see that Alchemist picks up this SNY over going for an early BKB, because it's all BKB piercing. BKB is not going to help you. Status resistance is going to be the only thing that's going to keep you in these fights, really. But unfortunately, with this Battle Fury build, even if you're slept, you're not going to be doing the damage that you would be doing with a Radiance. Though I think the Battle Fury is the most efficient build on an Alchemist right now. If you're getting slept, if you're getting shackled, at least some of your net worth is doing damage in an
Both
AoE.
teams thinking the opposites offlane, trying to contest for towers.
Morana here does have the Yules.
You'll
There's
set
the
up
arrow
into the
combo.
Wind Ranger, and she's able to Wind Range away. Disruptor not getting the glimpse off.
Yep, able to get up that high ground very quickly. little bit.
Dire is taking the map presence from Radiant. They're now rotating, trying to defend this bottom tower, and Radiant is going to back away.
Yeah,
Ultimate
Radiant
AFK
knowing
farms.
that this jungle is not the safest place. They lost a team fight here earlier. It's not the safe place for the Radiant. The Dire knowing that that is where they can play the advantage in the current patch. Your opponent's safe lane is your best objective to take.
Pudge does have the Spirit Vessel finished, so he is preparing to deal with these, I don't want to say beefy boys, but like Alchemist has the HP regen, Slardar's a strength hero, Clinks has Death Pact. Yeah, you kind of want to always get a Spirit Vessel against Alchemist, but I think this is a game that's definitely going to have value.
Yeah,
and
it's
they're
got
dropping the wards on bottom.
Yeah, it's got more value than just on the Alchemist in this game. I think would be a good way to put it. He's going to be able to use a lot of those charges in most of the team fights, and he is getting a lot of pickoffs, so he does have 4 charges already. Alchemist now joining the team fight.
Oh,
Ooh, quick hook!
Big hook! Alchemist does get the chemical rage off, but he goes
And that
down.
is 17,000 net worth instantly reduced to 0. That excellent hook by a hot sauce goblin there. That is what you want to see. Gets the hook into the dismember. Easy setup for the shackle. They had the Fiend's Grip to follow up. That status resistance not going to be enough.
Oh!
Ooh, catches the clinks,
But
but
they got their dust on cooldown. There it is. They're gonna throw out the dust. Disruptor says sit. Shaman's gonna pay for it. Juggernaut's gonna head out.
double shackle. But I don't think you want
This
to.
is not the fight for us.
The Pudge
We've
is
taken
their
what we're gonna
setup.
get. We've
Yeah.
lost what we're gonna lose. I want out. You can see him kind of flirting. I'm guessing what's happening in comms is he's screaming, "Get back!"
Yeah, you can
Once
see that Wind
Disruptor
Ranger
drops that
playmaking. Yeah.
You can either counter initiate immediately or just count your losses.
The prize is mine.
In
Yeah,
my
and-
opinion, like
You could see the Wind Ranger wanted to reinitiate, but Juggernaut says,
coin helps.
"I don't want to die." Like this Alchemist is
we
essentially
got our kill on the
getting
Alchemist.
stalled. Yeah, we
We
killed
paid
the
for it with
Alchemist.
Shaman and Pudge. Let's get out.
Yeah, like we said, with these BKB piercing stuns,
But look at this
17,000
word here
net
from
worth
the Dire, if
reduced
they
to
see
0.
this. I'm allowed to draw on the map, correct?
Yeah, because I should be the only one that can see it.
Okay, I'm like, you should be the only person who can see that. I hope I'm not flaring. I don't think I can.
I believe you can draw on the map, and I believe you can draw on the actual, like on the mini map and on the map. I believe it's just all chat that goes to everybody,
I just wanted to confirm.
which is weird that that's even an option.
Oh, Clink's coming out. There's the Orchid reveal. But it's not enough on the Juggernaut. Who
And we
will
can see
run
that's
back
why
to the trees and
Juggernaut
drop
is
the
going
healing
for
ward.
that Mantis tile over the S and Y. He's got things he needs to get out of.
And that's not what we want to see from Pudge. Pudge getting rotated on. And their setup just goes down. Dire's going to have a hard time fighting now. Alchemist wants to take land. And I think they have to give it up.
Yeah, without that Pudge
Dire's top tower
to
is
really pull somebody out of position for them to hold and then take some serious net worth off the side of the Radiant does have a severe advantage in that Apache
They have all
does
their mans,
have.
and they're just going to ping Roshan. They're going to take T2. They've captured the Dire outpost, and they're just going to go straight for Roshan.
Double damage.
And between Acid Spray and Corrosive Haze, it just melts.
Yeah, and the I believe they did take the minus armor off of Death Pact. I wasn't sure if that still had minus armor, but they have. Yeah, Corrosive Haze, minus 15 armor. Acid Spray, minus 7. Roche is not going to last very long. This is a Roche taking lineup if I've ever seen one. Juggernaut still trying to work his way towards that Manta. Is the highest net worth next to the Alchemist, but unfortunately
It
having to
feels
pick
bad
up.
when someone's already finished S and Y.
To the dead
Yeah.
zone with you.
See
Like, he's
Mirana
got S
and
and Y, he's got an AC.
is under attack.
And it's not the damage item you want, right? Like, you want to be able to make your ultimates really count for a lot, and your Manta, it's a defensive item. It doesn't feel good when you're trying to burst somebody down, right? But you kind of have to. You have to get rid of the Corrosive Haze. You have to get rid of this Orchid now from the Clinks, or you're never going to get a chance to actually get your Omni Slash off.
Dire's bottom tower
He's
is
most
under
likely going to circle back around for the Mjolnir once he can pick up that
Alright, I'm glad he didn't opt
can pick
for a
up that-
Battle Fury build or anything like that this game.
Dire's bottom tower
Definitely
has fallen.
Juggernaut knowing what the game's going to look like at this point in itemizing into it. Opting for the spin TP once Mirana rotates, going to go top to continue his farming pattern there.
Yeah, because you're not going to out alchemist an alchemist, right? Like, you know
You
they
can't.
have the farming advantage. If they have the farming advantage, you say, okay, if they have the farming advantage, I need to be able to fight. I
do think that Radiance remained very strong
Shadows
because
take
they've
us.
managed to maintain this mid tower. So the Dire was able to take out both side lanes. Oops. Pudge hooking the Bane to safety, but the Glimpse pulling him back. Bane trying to self-sleep, but it's not enough. And
Yeah.
Juggernaut sees the enemy moving for him, and he's trying to get out of here. Here's the Yule setup. Is he going to have the spin? No, he's not.
Does get the spin. The Slaughter does mistime it, but
Tower is under attack.
And here's
should
the
go
ultimate,
down
but it's
here.
not going to do enough against an Assault Cuirass.
yeah. Last ditch effort on the healing ward. He's gonna go down, and the rest of Dire saying, "You're dead, Juggernaut. I'm sorry,
Common
but
sneaking ward
we're
top,
going to play elsewhere."
dealing a significant amount of damage to this top tower. And I think that's what he was looking for. They dropped towards bottom last time, but because nobody was willing to tank for the wards kind of died. That's not what you want to see. You want to see the wards pumping damage into the tower while it's just pooping on creeps. That didn't happen last time, and we see the Alchemist cleaning up again.
Yeah, Alchemist playing with the rest of his team. Now we see the power of this Disruptor, able to help them get kills all around the map. Like, you've got to be very careful, especially with the Disruptor in the game. If you're out of position and you try, if you have these movement abilities like, say, Windrun, or you've got the hooks to save your teammates, it doesn't matter when Disruptor can
Here
punish
comes the
that
hook.
with
It's
one
onto
ability.
the flanks. Is it good? There's the Devourer.
There's the
But
arrow.
Alchemist is able to break the chomp. Shadow Shaman following up. Jug cleaning up. Buyback from Wind Ranger, but Clinks is dead. Is it enough? They're going on the Slardar. Slardar is dead thanks to Wind Ranger.
Here's the
Alchemist
shackles.
has the Chemical Rage pumping. He's trying to chomp on the towers. Follow-up arrow onto the Shaman channeling. Bane tries to
This
save one
Pudge
sleep.
needs to be careful. This was several mini engagements around in the Dire's base, diving pretty far in, trying to follow that Clinks up, getting hit by the tier 4s. They were able to clean up the tower and not able to get the racks, so I believe that Dire is happy with this outcome. But immediate smoke, trying to catch somebody, knowing that they
no,
didn't
and it
back
breaks
all
in the
the
high
way.
ground, but Pudge knows where it is. Pudge knows where it is. He's played Pudge before. If it breaks there, you know exactly where they're standing. He throws the hook. Marana cannot leap out.
Yeah, Marana just kind of being the person that's going to tank that gank of the quick smoke. But we see them rotating here on the Alchemist. Pudge is ready to go again.
Tower is under
Does not have the Dismember, but is just walking right at him.
And there's the Chemical Rage. Alchemist does have the Aegis of the Immortal. He's
Forcing
actually
the
gonna go
Chemical
back to
Rage
finish
out.
that creep.
is
They finally get mid-tower. It's a little too late to shut down the Alchemist. But they are able to establish that map control.
And the Juggernaut not dying in that team fight is very important because he had died prior to that, didn't have to buy back because it was a very early death. Does finish his Manta style and is able to work on his next item, so we'll see if he picks up the Mjolnir to get his attack speed up for this Omni Slash, or if he opts for a different damage item. We can see Spider Legs coming out for the Wind Ranger, also has the Mindbreaker. Opts to get rid of the Spider Legs and keep the Mindbreaker. Attack speed, you kind of want to see that on the Jug as opposed to the Wind Ranger.
Alchemist is rocking double damage. And level 20.
Also has the Spider Legs. So at this point, he
But
can
no Aegis.
opt to. Doesn't have the Aegis, but he
And
can,
the
he's
XP per minute is starting to die down. Like, I'm not gonna say that at a 15 gold deficit that it's looking good for Dire. But I think they're past the power spike of Alchemist.
Yeah,
And
he's
it's either
starting
gonna
to
be
hit
a
6 slots
long
here.
road up here, or they could bleed out.
Yeah.
But I think this is the next team fight is really gonna determine what this looks like.
Yeah, if this Pudge is able to get the hook and the Dismember onto the Alchemist and they kill this Alchemist is going to find it very hard to continue to keep scaling.
Shadows
He's going to start giving ags to his teammates, but he himself is not
There's the
going
Marana
to
ult.
get any bigger.
Shadow Shaman popping the dust and running. He says, "Oh no, I found them."
Yeah, just slowing down that slaughter considerably with the dust only applies to slow if you're invis, so it does keep the slaughter from catching up to him. So good defensive dust there, gives them vision. Radiant a little scared to continue going forward, knowing that they have so much control on the side of the Dire that if they catch anybody, you're going to be pulled out of position and you're going to be killed. And we've
A lot
seen
of
that.
interesting wards coming out from both sides. I'm seeing a lot of vision covered, but not a lot of sentries. Or not a lot of sentries. The sentries have been killed.
The prize is mine.
Yeah,
But there's the Disruptor with the ultimate. Shadow Shaman Wars jump down, but Mirana's able to jump out. Wind Ranger implodes. Vane's gone. The Alchemist is just going to town.
yeah, they used her abilities on the Mirana. Mirana was able to jump out, does get pulled back in, and does go down, but that's not your problem, right? You've got this Heart of Tarask, and you've got this Abyssal Blade on this Alchemist. That's who your issue is. That's who you've got to deal
He
with.
is
But the
all of
Clinks
their
with
net
the
worth. He is all of their XP. And that's not to downplay the Clinks, actually. The Clinks in Slaughter are definitely putting in work.
yeah, they did a lot of damage with the
They
Orchid.
did a lot of damage. But it is disproportionately loaded onto the Alchemist.
And they do take the mid-racks. They're going straight for the tier 4s here. It does have the glyph. But with Chemical Rage coming back up, I think they can just keep going. Because they're at a hero advantage now, right? They have the Mirana advantage, but they are opting to back up, play safe, looking to go for Mega Creeps, not going for anything too fancy. BKB, that is the 10-second BKB on Clinks. Used to just try and take this top tier 3. It does go down. Backing up.
Get out.
Yeah,
They're
just
gonna
playing
take
it safe.
For nothing. Or take it for BKB.
Yeah, it's the 10-second BKB, but I think he's fine with using that. That's this Alchemist is just going to keep scaling because of the map control they have. They're going to get all of these bounty runes. That's a lot of gold for Alchemist. Almost has his first Ag Scepter. Has 3 parts, only 300 gold away, 200 gold, 100 gold. Has the first Ag Scepter. So let's see who this goes on. There's a lot of good Ag Scepters for his team. Disruptor is the most likely candidate. I think it goes on Disruptor. Disruptor
no, it
having
totally
the
goes on Disruptor. It totally goes on Disruptor.
single best Aghanims in the game, only balanced by the fact that how do you farm an Ags on Disruptor?
Yeah.
You're so rarely able to get it that...
Interesting mount from Disruptor. I hadn't looked at this one before.
Yep, and there it is. Static Storm now mutes items. That is a huge power spike for the Radiant. Alchemist able to farm that Ag Scepter for the Disruptor. That's going to be a game
and then
changer.
just Clinks just demolishes buildings, as a Clinks is like to do.
They got to be careful if they don't see this. Ooh, not going to matter. No BKB on the Wind Ranger. Alchemist blinking forward with the Abyssal Blade. 2 quick kills on the Shadow Shaman. The Wind Ranger going for tier 4s.
We see the buybacks from Shadow Shaman. He's not willing to give up that quickly. They don't want to call GG. But we see the Lotus Corp coming out in the sleep onto the Alchemist.
And here's the Clinks.
Oh no, Juggernaut TP's home and comes back to the lane.
Ooh, he is stuck in the bot lane, and that is going to be the Ancient for the Dire. They have no way to stop this. They used Glyph in the last fight. Clinks just slowly right-clicking it down.
The setup onto the game.
And that is going to be pretty good taking game 2. Dire got Alchemist. And we can see that was definitely the Disruptor. Giving all those stacks to the Alchemist accelerated him very quickly. Those safe lane stacks, you've got to take them, but it's very difficult to take them.
I did like game 2. I thought Dire put up a much better fight.
It was much closer.
The absolute lacking that was game 1.
Like this Alchemist got 17k net worth, and with an excellent hook and a dismember, they took that lead from 9k for the Radiant and said, okay, now it's a 10k lead for us because we killed your Alchemist. He's all of your net worth. We're going to take this team fight. They weren't able to kind of make lightning strike twice, but that was definitely in that mid game.
There was potential there.
They were putting a fight pretty good fight up. They were hitting all their abilities the way that they wanted. They had all the setup for the Pudge. The Pudge was doing everything he needed to.
Because let's be real, what everybody hates about a Pudge game is that you're always one hook away from being in a very uncomfortable position.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there are times where it's just like, oh, I can take this, and you get hooked, and you're like, why is there a Pudge in half of his team here?
Yeah. And he just needs to find a spot, have his team around him, and because they have the shackle, and they have the shackles, and they have the sleep as well as the Fiend's grip. There's more than enough that if they have a little bit of setup, whoever gets hooked is not going anywhere. And that's what we saw with that Alchemist, who, even with that status resistance, it's just too much. They can burst him down. But he played relatively safe behind his team until they were able to get the initiation off. Disruptor playing very well early, getting those stacks, and then late game using that glimpse. They got a lot of pickoffs based off them just smoking around or using the Mirana ultimate to get someone out of position. They then pop visible. That person runs away. He pops his glimpse. They're now back out of position. They kill them really quickly. They take advantage, and they go right into objectives.
And I want to give a lot of credit to the Disruptor, because the Disruptor absolutely set up the Alchemist for a great early game. He was able to essentially, I think, win the lane for Alchemist while providing the stacks. And then we saw this kind of, is Dire going to come back mid-game? And then late game, we see these max-level glimpses into Static Storm that just absolutely set up a team fight for an Alchemist that is so far ahead.
Yeah, definitely the Alchemist had such a good game because of the way the Disruptor played. Getting those triple stacks on those small camps, it's easily 1,000 gold early on. Alchemist going for the points in Acid Spray means that he's going to be able to take those very quickly, and you're able to not miss any lane farm because of it, and you're just getting such an influx of gold. And they had stacks constantly on the side of the Radiant, where we could see the Juggernaut was taking the Ancients, but they weren't stacked. We had this Bane, we had this Shadow Shaman, they were doing a lot of work, getting kills around the map, but unfortunately it wasn't helping the Juggernaut farm any faster, whereas while they're getting kills, this Disruptor is just running around knowing...
Right? Like, while they were zooing down bottom, PL was free farming top.
Yeah, they just know, like, this Alchemist, their win condition.
Very efficient at being AFK.
Yeah, and knew exactly when his power spike was. He got hooked early, but after that one hook was able to just transition into going, okay, well, I'm still strong enough to take objectives. Let's keep going. Like, I am strong enough. Like, they got everything went right for them that killed me in that last fight. If that doesn't happen again, we're still in the driver's seat. And he pushed his team forward, and they took the victory. So it's a 2-0 for pretty good over XBomb Imperium, but that second game, XBomb definitely putting on a good show. I think that's going to be it for the MD2L stream for tonight, so thanks everybody for watching. I'm going to close down the stream.